Arup, you'll have to unmute yourself. You're on mute.
Thank you for pointing that out. Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you for joining us today. A very warm welcome to the MYP Community Project exhibition. This is an exciting day for the MYP team, especially the MYP4 class of 2022 students who are showcasing their services action journey through the community projects today. Let's start with a quick rundown of the schedule of events today. Each group will introduce themselves and briefly present their project topic and its scope. Then they will share their MYP talk for the project exhibition and presentation. And in the end, they will be happy to answer your questions and respond to your feedback and comments. You are kindly requested to keep your microphones muted until we open the floor for question and answer sessions and feedback. Without further ado, let's begin with my co-host, Ms. Sara Munir, the MYP project coordinator, to start with briefly describing the community project to our audience and then move on to our first group's presentation. Over to you, Ms. Sara.
Thank you, Ms. Arup. Hello, everyone. My name is Sara Munir, and like Arup introduced, I am the MYP projects coordinator here. I'm very excited to be here and for our students to be presenting. Briefly, a little about the community project. The community project's focus is service. It gives students an opportunity to develop awareness of needs in various communities and address those needs. Students worked in groups of either 2 or 3 and were assigned as project supervisor. They were expected to work on the project for approximately 15 hours. For us, the project started in November and was spread over 6 months. And here we are presenting in front of you, starting off with Dua and Ishal.
Hello and assalamu alaikum. My name is Dua and I, along with my other team member, Ishal, have been working on our community project, which aims to cover the educational gaps created due to the current global pandemic. Our goal was to help those in need, those who are not privileged enough to bear the expenses of the internet for the online classes. We believe that education is a right for all, thus all of us should be able to get it. We planned on helping them by creating a game-based educational resource pack, which consisted of 3 major subjects: English, Math, and Urdu, and distributed them to nearby schools in order for students to cover up what they had missed during the lockdowns, therefore also making it easier for the teachers to promote them to the next grade. The community we chose were the students in government schools, since they had faced a lot of educational loss due to lockdowns caused by the pandemic. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Ishal, and I'll just be talking about the stuff we learned from this project. The project was indeed very, very beneficial, and our specific project gave us an insight into the community that isn't as privileged as us, the community that doesn't have access to internet and they couldn't continue with their education due to lockdown. So it really helped us understand their point of view, and it gave us an opportunity to help them out. And in addition to this, we did practice a lot of ATL skills during this project. A lot of them included communication, critical thinking, time management was a big one. So this project was really a great opportunity for all of us to learn and just to overall better our skills, to understand the people around us, to understand how our role impacts other people and how everything is connected. And yeah, that's the main takeaway. So now we will be watching our MYP TED Talk style presentation.
Hello everyone, I'm Ishal Khan and that's my partner Dua Zainab. Now, I'm sure all of you will agree with me when I say that the year 2020 was indeed unprecedented in every sense. It was the year when everything changed. It was a once-in-a-century event. 70 million people got infected by the coronavirus, and there were 1.6 million recorded deaths. World economic output is 7% lower than it otherwise would have been, and it is considered to be the biggest slump since the Second World War. This pandemic not only created a health crisis, but an education and learning crisis as well. Schools began to shut down last year during the first wave in March, and they remain closed. For example, in the province of KP, alone, 5 million children were affected. Though some schools started online learning, the majority of students did not have any internet access, halting their learning experience. Due to this, many students dropped out, adding to the already high number of out-of-school students. Now, before I continue, I would like to ask all the teachers in the room, how hard did you find teaching before the pandemic on a scale of 1 to 5? 3? 5, okay. How hard do you find teaching now with online school? During on the same scale of 1 to 5? 4? How hard do you think it is for the students to learn during online school? 10. All right, now I would like you to imagine having no internet access. Neither you nor your students have any access to internet devices. How hard do you think it would be then to continue learning and teaching? Pretty hard, right? According to UNICEF, 1.3 billion children do not have any internet access. And this includes 88% of South Asia's population. Furthermore, Pakistan has been ranked as the country with the second highest out-of-school children in the world. And as we can see from this chart, only 5.3% and 94.7% of high-income and low-income households have internet access, making it harder for such children without any internet access to continue with their education during this pandemic, which further increases the divide between high-income and low-income household children. Education is a fundamental right for all children, which is why we wanted our project to focus on tackling this educational crisis caused by the pandemic. Our project worked towards creating equal opportunities for such children without internet. Therefore, fitting into the global context of fairness and development. Currently, there are 48 million schools like to ask all the teachers in the Hello everyone, I'm Ishal Khan and that's my partner Dua Zainab. Now, I'm sure all of you will agree with me when I say that the year 2020 was indeed unprecedented in every sense. It was the year when everything changed. It was a once-in-a-century event. 70 million people got infected by the coronavirus, and there were 1.6 million recorded deaths. World economic output is 7% lower than it otherwise would have been, and it is considered to be the biggest slump since the Second World War. This pandemic not only created a health crisis, but an education and learning crisis as well. Schools began to shut down last year during the first wave in March, and they remain closed. For example, in the province of KP alone, 5 million children were affected. Though some schools started online learning, the majority of students did not have any internet access, halting their learning experience. Due to this, many students dropped out, adding to the already high number of out-of-school students. Now, before I continue, I would like to ask all the teachers in the room, how hard did you find teaching before the pandemic, on a scale of 1 to 5? 3? 5, okay. How hard do you find teaching now with online school? On the same scale of 1 to 5? 4? How hard do you think it is for the students to learn during online school? 10. All right, now I would like you to imagine having no internet access. Neither you nor your students have any access to internet devices. How hard do you think it would be then to continue learning and teaching? Pretty hard, right? According to UNICEF, 1.3 billion children do not have any internet access. And this includes 88% of South Asia's population. Furthermore, Pakistan has been ranked as the country with the second highest out-of-school children in the world. And as we can see from this chart, only 5.3% and 94.7% of high-income and low-income households have internet access, making it harder for such children without any internet access to continue with their education during this pandemic, which further increases the divide between high-income and low-income household children. Schools began to shut down last year during the first wave in March, and they remain closed. For example, in the province of KP alone, children were affected. Though some schools started online learning, the majority of students did not have any internet access, halting their learning experience. Due to this, many students dropped out, adding to the already high number of out-of-school students. Now, before I continue, I would like to ask all the teachers in the room, how hard did you find teaching before the pandemic on a scale of 1 to 5? 3? 5, okay. How hard do you find teaching now with online school? On the same scale of 1 to 5? 4? How hard do you think it is for the students to learn during online school? 10. All right, now I would like you to imagine having no internet access. Neither you nor your students have any access to internet devices. How hard do you think it would be then to continue learning and teaching? Pretty hard, right? According to UNICEF, 1.3 billion children do not have any internet access. And this includes 88% of South Asia's population. Furthermore, Pakistan has been ranked as the country with the second highest out-of-school children in the world. And as we can see from this chart, only 5.3% and 94.7% of high-income and low-income households have internet access, making it harder for such children without any internet access to continue with their education during this pandemic, which further increases the divide between high-income and low-income household children. Education is a fundamental right for all children, which is why we wanted our project to focus on tackling this educational crisis caused by the pandemic. Our project worked towards creating equal opportunities for such children without internet, therefore fitting into the global context of fairness and development. Currently, there are 48 million school-going children in Pakistan, of which 68.8% are primary graders. To provide an equal opportunity to school-going children without internet access, our project focused on developing immersive educational content targeted at primary grade students in semi-urban public schools. In such public schools, teacher-to-student ratio is 1 to 50, and educational content is not at par with international standards. Our solution was to create a homeschooling gamified learning educational pack for students in grades 1 to 2. In these packs, we mostly focus on building analytical and comprehension skills through giving them situational-based questions where they had to apply their knowledge of certain topics. After each exercise, they were awarded with a certain number of points. The content for this workbook was comprised of material from our own school's curriculum, as well as worksheets from many notable online sources. However, when it came to the execution of the project, we eventually realized that we were at a bump in the road. We had to modify our solution. When we reached the planning phase, we found the lockdown to be lifted. So hence, there was no need for a homeschooling pack for these children any longer. Of course, when you face the challenge, you have to overcome it, which is essentially what we did. By shifting the focus of the homeschooling educational pack to content that would revise their previously missed work from school when they were in lockdown, the pack ensured a smooth transition back to school, back to the school environment. In the end, we distributed 150 packs spread across 3 schools in semi-urban localities, adding value to those students' academic lives and helping them go back to school smoothly. Now, I'll be handing the mic over to my partner, Dua, who will go through the step process of this project. Thank you.
Now, I'll be breaking the whole process of our project into bits and pieces. Initially, there were 5 phases of our project, starting off with the first phase, introduction. This phase consisted of extensive research, brainstorming sessions, group meets, Google Meets, and discussion with our group mates, and of course, our supervisor being assigned. The second phase, which is known as the investigating phase, was an accumulation of coming up with a project, our goal, which was to to make up a game-based homeschooling pack for students of grades 1 and 2 and distribute them to 4 nearby schools. Moreover, it consisted of the global context, the area we needed to cover, and the target audience, for this being the community who did not have access to online schooling. The third phase was the planning phase, which was a very detailed phase since it helped us package our packs, find worksheets, go through multiple websites, and interview many teachers from our school who would help us in this packaging. Moreover, it consisted of our proposal of action and process journal. The fourth phase was the taking action phase, which was one of our favorite phases since it helped, in which we distributed the packs physically. We went to the schools. Moreover, we held bake sales for MYP and high school, and then we had some volunteer work for grades who would help us package the packs, and then running back and forth to our community project head and our supervisor for feedback on our progress. The final phase of this project was the reflecting phase, which, just as it sounds, was full of reflection, completion of bibliography, extracts from process journal, and a completion of our academic honesty form. This project wasn't only a project, but a way through which many goals were accomplished and helped many different lives. It helped us improve on different skills which we weren't able to improve on in the past. It helped us improve our time management skills. And by that, I mean the deadline trackers, submission dates, and of course, I agree that we weren't able to pass all of them since it's not butterfly and rainbows every day. We also worked in collaboration and teamwork, which made us stand here today. There were times where Ishal wasn't available, and there were times I wasn't available either. But this didn't stop us from staying firm and steadfast about this project. Even the virus, which was in circulation, didn't stop us from staying firm. Before starting this project, a lot of critical thinking, research skills, brainstorming sessions were held just in order to come up with a project which would benefit all of our society in this uncertain times. The highly challenging process journal, community service meetings, as easy as all of it sounds, was a completely different story. This project also showed us how privileged all of us were. We had facilities like online classes during these uncertain times, but there were thousands of other people who had none of these facilities, and imagine the loss they had to face. In Pakistan, 22.8 billion students have no access to online schooling. Now imagine every single student of that 22.8 million, the loss they had to face. Although this project may seem like the best project, but no, that's not it. There were numerous ways to improve on this project. The government has failed to provide funds, which resulted in the principal paying personally for each of the student. It was pretty upsetting for us to sit over there, listen to the principal talk about how she had to leave her university job just in order to help these students, provide them with education. And mind you, education is a fundamental right for every single student in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, this shows the struggle of every government school principal in Pakistan who bears the expenses of every student herself, even though the government is the one who is responsible. We thought that we could help the school more by help them with funding or by donating books which were no longer in use. A week after we distributed all of these packs, and another lockdown was enforced, which made us realize that these packs proved beneficial for all. Now, before leaving this podium right here, I hope this put a sense of realization in all of you how lucky and privileged we were to be sitting here while there are thousands of other students who are out there in the streets having no access to education. There are thousands of others who crave education every day but are not able to get it due to their lack of financial resources. This project, therefore, it was an excellent initiative taken by my team member and I, and will always stay close to both of us as it not only helped us, but many students around us as well. Thank you.
We would be happy to take your questions now.
Your feedback would be highly appreciated. So if you have any questions, please let us know, or just any comments in general.
Would anyone like to ask any questions? Any feedback that you have for these girls? Thank you so much, Dua and Zainab. That was lovely. I'm so glad you guys presented your project so nicely. Thank you so much. We're just going to shortly start with our second group. Thank you. Okay, so all of you who have just joined in, thank you so much for joining us. We're here today to celebrate the success of our MYP4 students who completed their community projects. The community projects focus is service. It gives students an opportunity to develop awareness of needs in various communities and address those needs. Students have worked in groups of 2 or 3 and they were assigned a project supervisor. Students were expected approximately to complete the project in 15 hours. The project was initiated in November and was spread over 6 months. We've watched our first group's presentation. Here we are now to start off with our second group, which is Lara and Alina. Lara and Alina, are you guys with us? Can you start, please?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can switch on your videos, please.
Hi, my name is Laura, and my partner Alina and I worked on raising awareness on the special needs community at Headstart. We did this by painting a mural of the neurodiversity symbol with the help of special needs students from our campus and displaying it in a public place. Alina and I chose this topic to work on because we felt that the special needs community was one that needed more recognition. Thank you.
Alina, are you with us?
Alina, you're muted.
Sorry. I was just saying that we chose the neurodiversity symbol, which is an infinity rainbow, to sort of spread our message, and we placed it in a public area so that it would be viewed by a lot of people. Any passers would be able to see it. And we wanted to change the motto from disabled to differently abled, because it's not that they're less, but they're just differently abled people. And I believe that the most challenging part of our project was, in fact, the painting of the mural itself. To begin with, we had a few issues finding the right size, But thankfully, thanks to Ms. Nara, we eventually did get the right size. And before we started the execution of our project, we were worried about how to interact with these students and communicate with them in a manner that would personally reach out to them. But we learned quickly from our brainstorming session that we shared so many similarities and especially a passion for art. So that made it a lot easier to carry out our project. And these students were actually really excited and super enthusiastic to get started on this. Once we started the mural, everything just sort of happened naturally without that much prior planning. And it was truly really beautiful to see all the students get together in an amusing painting session and to be able to see the mural go from a simple canvas cloth to a meaningful symbol of unity was a satisfying process in itself. Now, if we could watch our TED Talk.
Okay, hi, my name is Laura, and my partner Alina and I worked on raising awareness on neurodiversity. So we're going to be talking about our project and showing you a few pictures. So our slogan, Differently Able, Let's Enable, emphasizes the fact that autism is not a disability, but those born with it have a different set of abilities as valuable as any other individual. Through our pioneering work, we wanted to enable this message to be spread widely so that people can appreciate that people have a different set of skills that makes us unique as individuals, but diverse as a community, and diversity needs to be cherished. So our global context is personal and cultural expression. And we chose this to be a global context because we're encouraging individuals to express themselves through a form of art. So our goal was to raise awareness about the special needs community at Headstart by painting a mural of the neurodiversity symbol with their help and displaying it in a public place. We chose this topic to work on because my partner and I felt that the special needs community was one that needed more recognition. Our project would not only allow us to help spread awareness on the subject, but we would also be helping the students build their collaboration and teamwork skills. Having witnessed firsthand the discriminatory behavior that our society displays towards differently abled people, we wanted to bring about a change in people's attitudes and behavior. My mother's cousin's son, who was born with autism, has provoked such strong reactions among strangers in public that he no longer has confidence in being an accepted member of society. We therefore hope that the stance we take helps reduce society's prejudice against differently abled people. So we began the process by speaking with the ABIS coordinator, Ms. Sabina Jahangir, in order to get some tips on how we could interact better with the students, make the project more inclusive, and make them feel comfortable. We were then introduced to a few of the special needs students from our campus, and we had an icebreaker in which the students shared ideas of what they would like to see as part of the mural. We began painting the mural on a large piece of cloth the following day, and a compilation of handprints formed a neurodiversity symbol at the center of the mural. The day after that, we baked brownies in the nutritional lab with the help of a few of the special needs students as an additional activity. The students cooperated well, and overall working with them was a great experience. After that, we sold the trays of brownies to teachers and students from our school. We also printed stickers that represented neurodiversity and sold those. We made over 5,000 rupees in total from this. Next, we donated the entire profit made from selling the brownies and stickers to help buy books and stationery for the special needs students in order to help build a better learning environment for them. Finally, the mural has been placed outside the F7 campus of Headstart and is visible to many people each day. We hope that will help spread awareness on the importance of educating people about special needs and making a greater effort to make the differently able feel more included in society.
So our research was mainly primary research, as we had to conduct interviews and emails and directly speak to the people of authority so that we could get our mural to be painted as well as then placed in a public place. The first step that we had to do was to email Ms. Javaria, and she was the principal, we had to finalize a location for our painting. And so therefore we had to do that. However, we did not receive any response. So our next step was to then conduct an interview with the ABIS coordinator, Ms. Sabina. This interview was very helpful in itself because we were able to then improve our project and somehow coordinate plans and meetings so that we could meet the students and etc. Lara did some secondary research on the topic itself. So she researched on the symbol of neurodiversity so that it could be the main attraction of our mural. So we had a few expectations and outcomes. Our first expectation was that we would just paint a mural at the school and make a documentary on it. However, we decided that we wanted to make our goal a lot more complex. So to build on this, we decided that our mural should be placed at a more public area so that it can be a wider spread message. After constructive criticism, we realized that it would be better if it was not confined to our school. Secondly, we did not manage to make a short documentary. However, we did add a short baking session with the students. So we felt that was more productive rather than a short documentary because we were able to interact with the students themselves and they enjoyed the session a lot. And this, as my partner Laura mentioned, this did raise a short sum of money. To reflect on the topic, at first it was daunting and worrying to think about forming a connection with the ABIS students because we were unsure and we lacked experience. However, the community project helped us to understand that it is easy to build a connection and it didn't necessarily take an entire community project to help them feel more included. Achieving involvement was easy because the students were eager and it was something that felt really natural. Most of the ATL skills also helped us in this process. So we focused more on the social ATL skills, specifically collaboration, because we needed to work together with the students to build something. And we were also able to exhibit the other ATL skills such as thinking, research, communication, and self-management through our problem solving, our interviews, and effective interaction, as well as reconsideration of our past actions. Furthermore, many people don't realize how important it is to interact beyond one's own comfort zone, and this prevents them from understanding how effortless building relationships and participating with the ABIS community was. At the end of the day, everyone was there to enjoy, paint, and indulge in some brownies, and they were able to embrace our similarities as well as disregarding our differences. So here are a few pictures from the process itself. Our community project had a time lapse on the mural, which was compiled into a short video. We had these are a few pictures from the baking and the painting. As you can see that the students were they were happy to be able to express themselves in an art form because it is very easy to express yourself through painting and drawing. And even during the brainstorming session, they were really eager to work on art. So here are a few pictures. Thank you.
We would be happy to take your questions now.
Hi there, Alina. And, I don't have a question from you people. I just want to comment on two things which you have said during your, presentation. There are 2 points which I really want to appreciate those. One is that you mentioned that you decided to change the position of the mural from a public place to within the school vicinity after constructive feedback. And you used the word constructive criticism. And I really like that you people were open to feedback and to improvisation of your plans. That is so appreciable. Your entire presentation was like, you've taken us through the entire journey of it, how it started, how it, evolved over the months. And the second point you said was that we need to learn to come out of our comfort zones and interact with different people. And that is something which is really an amazing aspect of your work. My question is that what was the feedback you received? Or it's not even a question, just let us know how the ABIA students responded to that activity? What was their participation level, and how did it, what impact it had on you when that whole process was going on? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments and your questions, Mr. Beria. I believe that the best part of the constructive criticism was the fact that Ms. Sabina actually believed that our idea was a good base to start off of, but in order to increase the inclusivity and to sort of make this a more complex goal to achieve, it would have been better if it wasn't just confined to this school, as I mentioned before. And furthermore, I think Laura can answer your question on how the students responded to our project.
Yeah, so when they got to know about the project, they just seemed really excited because they just wanted to paint, and they thought that it was a fun activity, and they would just be able to do it as a group, and they were just really excited.
I just want to add on to that. When we did meet with Ms. Sabina, she told us that a year ago, due to the coronavirus, they had an event that was canceled and they couldn't carry it out. It was a large neurodiversity embracing sort of event. And so we realized that we wanted to somehow fulfill what they lost before. So in order to do that, we wanted to make sure that they could actually come to an event that was designated to them and that was representing the neurodiversity at our school. And when we did have the brainstorming session, everyone was participating, they were raising their hands, they were sharing their passions and what they enjoyed. And then we sort of added the brownie session as a little, just something fun for them to enjoy once in a while, because they don't get that opportunity a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I can see the enthusiasm and the heartfelt emotions you both have for this whole thing. So I would say that it was not just a mural you guys made, but you made memories together. Congratulations on your project. Lovely. Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions?
So I just wanted to ask what advice you give to kids who are like going to be doing their community projects next year.
That is a very good question. I would say that being able to sort of come to an agreement and communicate with your partner is really important, because you want to be able to make sure that you have all of the workforce from your group in order to execute the project itself. And planning is really, really important. You can't just leave everything last minute or just wing it. And it's important to make sure that you go through all your documents a lot, record everything that you're doing, and keep in mind that your process journal is very important. You should ask your coordinator and everything, and the people who are organizing the event, what you need by the end of the project, so that you're prepared and not everything is, and so that you're not left to the exact last moment and you find out, oh my God, I haven't done this. And yeah, Laura can continue.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any more questions?
I wanted to ask, so what was the impact of your project on like the general school community? Like, what do you think the impact was, or like if you received any feedback or anything like that? So what was that impact exactly?
I think the students we worked with, it just made them feel more included, and they're just able to have a fun time, and yeah, just it would make them feel like an accepted member of society and make them feel less of like less of an cost, or just they would just feel more accepted.
We also had a few like volunteers who came and finished the mural. And honestly, it helped that the school was there, because not only was it just the neurodiversity students that were engaging in our project, but it was also just a school-wide thing. So it wasn't confined to just one group. Thank you for your question.
Okay, thank you.
If you don't have any more questions, a few comments would be appreciated. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, girls. That was a lovely presentation, and you answered the questions as well. Thank you so much. We are going to shortly start with our next group. So we're going to start shortly. The next group is the group who was working for equal job opportunities for the transgender community. And the group members are Sofia, Yubel, Natalia. Like I explained earlier as well, the community projects focus as service. It gives students an opportunity to develop awareness of needs in the communities and address them. This was an extended project. We started in November and it almost took the students 6 months. The students, as you can see, were working in groups of 2 or 3, and each group was assigned a project supervisor. Till now, we have watched 2 of the groups present, and we are waiting for our 3rd group to start their presentation. Does any one of you have any feedback or want to share something or perhaps ask a question? We would be happy to, while we're waiting for the other group to gather up, we would appreciate any feedback, any questions that you guys have. We're here today to celebrate the success of our MYP5 students, MYP4, sorry, students who have successfully completed their community projects. And they're here to present their work and their learning journey with us today. Thank you all for joining and being supportive. Your presence means a lot.
whilst we're waiting for the other to start at 12, Sarah, would you like to shed some light? Why do you think this project can help prepare students better for the personal project in 2025? The whole process of going through all the criterion stands, how can that be helpful in the deliverable next year, which is going to be internally assessed but externally moderated?
Yes, Arup. So the project, the community project, is internally moderated. The supervisor assesses the project as well, and is going to grade you on that as well. Like Alina gave advice to the students who will be doing the community project next year are grade 8s, which is MYP 3 right now, going to MYP 4. Have already started. We've initiated the project with them, and they've started brainstorming and familiarizing them with the assessment and how the project works. And before they break up for summer holidays, they'll be into groups and they will start off. So, they will also be, this is an extended project, so they'll continue working for 6 months. And by December, they'll be ready to present and share their projects with all of you. Arup, you'll have to unmute. You're on mute.
I'm sorry, that's twice I've done that today. I think it was also a learning experience for teachers who did their first set of assessment this time. Inshallah, yes. They will be taking this project, and they will be assessing both community and personal projects. So can you talk about the training, in-house training that they went through?
So the teachers, I think we do have a few supervisors on board. Fatima, I think, was on board. Maybe Fatima or Sadia Habib would want to contribute something as well. But when we started with the community projects, to answer your question, yes, we went through a very extensive teacher training. We had them get familiarized with the whole community project assessment, each stage, each phase. We had to equip them and make sure that they're ready to guide the students through, which they all did a lovely job, amazing job in mentoring, in inspiring the students. And I am sure all the students would agree that they wouldn't have been able to do this without the support of their supervisors.
Most certainly. Pulling off doing these projects amidst a global pandemic itself is a huge feat. And our students had to go.
Yes, so when the students were planning, all through their planning phase, they were reminded again and again that, given the circumstances, they might not be able to complete their action by physically going out. So this is a part of their planning that they should keep in account the fact that if plan A doesn't work, they should have a plan B. So which you guys can see clearly from the students' projects and the reflections that nothing stopped them. There were roadblocks, but they were able to overcome them. They were able to find a way around them, and in the end, execute their action, which is great. So Arup, I think it's almost time. We can start with our third group. Yes.
With our third group.
Alina, no, sorry, not Alina. Sophia, Natalia, and Jubel. You can all have your cameras on and we can start you off.
Sophia, would you like to start?
Yep, sorry. So, hi, I'm Sophia. My group mates are Natalia and Yubel, who I don't think is here. And we're Trans Haven. And for our community project, the community we chose was the transgender community. And we decided to address the need of jobs within their community, as most trans people, like, we see them on the streets begging, and we really wanted to help boost their like employment rates. So yeah.
Natalia, please unmute.
Oh, sorry. What I was saying was that the community project helped us understand the difficulties that people in our community face. It also helped us, while doing the project, we learned how people communicate with each other, like in a formal workplace. So like we went to offices to convince them by showing our presentations and stuff. And going there and understanding how everything works just helped us understand like how we can help them, how we can help transgender people on a larger scale. And it also helped us understand how important it is to help transgender people, because I know it's like something that you don't have to say because every life matters, but we know that transgender people are like a taboo in our society, and just knowing and just helping them just made us realize how important it is to include everyone and make sure and like treat them equally. So Yubail isn't here. For some reason, he had some personal issue, but basically he was supposed to talk about how unique our project is. And Sophia, would you like to take over?
Should we start with your MYP talk video?
Yeah, Miss, Yubail isn't here, so
okay,
we can start.
It's not our destiny to merely dance for others and hold begging bowls. We have a life to live. Sanam Fakir, a transgender woman. Ever since I can remember, I've seen trans people begging on the streets to make a livelihood. Even at a young age, I understood that transgender people were looked down upon and that they needed our help. So when we were able to help them with our community project, I was elated. However, the biggest question was, how could we help them? What specifically did they need help with? What would be the most effective in helping them? Using our research and prior knowledge, we decided to address the unemployment rates of transgenders in Pakistan. This is where we developed our goal to create a website and Instagram account which caters to finding equal job opportunities for transgenders by contacting HR departments of various companies. However, the biggest question was, how could we help them? What specifically did they need help with? What would be the most effective in helping them? Our goal addressed the need for jobs within the transgender community, which fell under the global context fairness and development. Fairness and development signifies relationships between communities and access to equal job opportunities. The transgender community is not excluded from this, and thus they should have access to equal opportunities like any other person. Transgender rights have been a taboo among societies all over the world, and only now have people begun to acknowledge their mistreatment. I'm sorry. As soon as we identified the specific community that had to be addressed, we set to work researching. We had to create a presentation and draft emails, which is why we decided to pay attention to numbers and statistics. Thankfully, we found a research paper by two professors written for the transgender community in Pakistan, the Peshawar University. This helped us immensely with all our sources for our presentations and our emails. We also had to research for website makers since we couldn't do it ourselves. And we went through a lot of website makers to see which one would most fit our, not just our aesthetic for the website, but also the accessibility and all this stuff that we needed to be in the website. For our Instagram page, we researched for relevant hashtags and posts regarding the topic to spread awareness and post on our stories or use information to make our own posts. We further evaluated each of the sources to ensure that they were valid. We did this by assessing the credibility of the sources by examining who was in charge of providing the information, and are they experts and can we verify their credentials. So we did this through the CRAAP test or the CRAP test, through which we assessed the objectivity and reliability of by investigating how old the information is and whether the currency of the information is actually applicable. Okay, yeah. In order to address this, we are able to use our prior learning from IT classes in order to make our own website, as well as language and literature units that taught us how to come up with compelling arguments. Yuval has also sat in a number of his father's meetings, and that helped us understand how to professionally go about them and what we could do to convince other companies. That's all, thank you. Yuval?
Then we gathered contacts for different companies and started to send out emails. After a couple of days, replies started to come with some people saying that they couldn't accommodate our project, some asking for an appropriate time to meet, and some asking for a meeting and asking for more brief situation in the country than an email could give them. And then once we started receiving responses, we made our action plan and decided to meet the companies. A hectic week started with going from one building to another in the city, and it was very tiring. We had companies shortlisted like Inbox Business, French Fries Campania, Telnor, Headstart, etc., and many more. Once the action plan was completed, by the end, we had 4 companies starting with us. We had Inbox Business, we had Headstart, we had Friesland, and we had Tony and Guy. In this phase, we also set to work on our website. Our website, we decided to make 3 main features. One, the actual job portal, where the companies could post their required CVs. Another was a form where the transgender people could post on their CVs and the companies could take a look at it. And the third was for case studies. We also decided to add Urdu in the website, so that taking in concern the background of some of the trans people. We especially had to use our development and thinking skills, creativity skills for this project, because answering the companies became really hectic. We would have to go to meetings and sit in a official and competitive manner and present to them officially in a formal way. And the most difficult part was answering the questions follow-up questions at the start, at the point, and it really put our critical thinking skills at a test, because we had to think fast and on the spot to answer the questions. But the most important skill that required was self-management. It was really difficult for us to manage our time and put on work as in order with the deadline. But after a while, we got the hang of it, and we were going well. And in the end, we did well with completing our project according to time. Yeah.
Unfortunately, our project wasn't entirely smooth sailing. We encountered quite a lot of roadblocks along the way. One of such was that companies wouldn't respond to our emails at first. And due to this, we decided to approach companies in a different manner. We directly contacted them through contacts we had, such as Natalia's aunt, who's the CEO of Tony & Guy Islamabad. After sitting our first meeting with companies, however, we realized that companies may be willing to provide us with job opportunities for transgender people, but how are we going to find trans people who cater for the skill sets needed in those jobs? We decided to talk to the trans community ourselves. However, due to this plan fell through because of COVID restrictions. We couldn't talk to them personally. And another point was that they were scared of meeting us because of security, and they were scared of facing backlash. And we even tried to contact a school in Lahore, however, a transgender school in Lahore. However, this also fell through as they were going under construction and said they wouldn't be able to help us. Currently, all other CP projects are almost finished. However, our CP project, we hope to be an ongoing one until trans unemployment rates have gone down. Our website, a job portal, is to cater for the transgender community. We will want to put it up as soon as we have more companies willing to work with us. Our Instagram account is made for spreading awareness of the topics that trans people go through. This project has given us an outlook which we can use the knowledge and skills we've acquired in the future and benefit from them. We've grown a perspective on how companies are run and what they expect from us in the future when we attend more meetings. And at the start of the community project, our self-management skills were honestly a mess, but we at least had some of the other ATL skills. However, despite having those skills, this community project allowed us to expand on those skills and develop them even more as individuals. We got to show our organization skills by managing time and our responsibilities. We slowly started managing time and tasks with using the Gantt chart and allocating different roles. We had no awareness of time management, so daily check-ins and deadlines set by a supervisor helped us immensely to stay on task, and it managed our state of mind by successfully controlling our time and tasks as well, allowing us to perform better in other tasks. We learned to analyze and assess issues regarding trans unemployment, as well as the transgender community and unemployment as a whole. We critically thought by breaking down research using models and analysis, using models provided to us by our supervisors and analyzing the sources we had. We critically thought when presenting at companies, as they would often put us on the spot when we had and ask us questions. So we had to understand what we were talking about. We had to think creatively when creating posts for our Instagram page and spreading information. We had to conduct research almost daily to think of new facts and statistics we were going to post on our Instagram page. We had to use our communication and social skills through our social media page, emailing companies during phone calls, meetings, and group work. We had to be able to collaborate together as a group and decide what we were going to do next. We had to effectively communicate with companies and explain what our goal was in a way that they understood and would want to work with us. In all, this project was to improve the lives of trans people in Pakistan. However, we've gained a lot from it as individuals as well as a group. That's it. Thank you.
We would be happy to take your questions now.
We have two questions, Natalia and Sophia. Looking at the chat window, one I'm reading from the Facebook live stream. Was there anything that you learned in your research that challenged your perceptions? Was there anything that you learned in your research that challenged your perceptions? Is the question.
Our research was more based on like how many transgenders are unemployed, or like the types of jobs transgender people have now, whereas like what they would have when we have our website. I don't think it exactly changed our perception or challenged it, but yeah, I don't think so, because it was more based on stuff we already knew, except we had to just add numbers to it. For our presentations and stuff. So yeah, our research was more for our presentations and stuff we would be showing to the companies.
There's another one. When are you guys planning to launch your website?
Okay, so we were going to launch it before schools were closed, but because of, and we were supposed to have another meeting with Inbox Biz, but because of Corona and lockdowns and stuff, we weren't able to do that. So as soon as we do get in touch with Inbox Biz again, they want to give us some pointers and talk about a workshop that they're going to hold for transgender people. After that, we're probably going to release it, but it's basically almost done. We just have to add the companies to it and other companies that we were supposed to meet with, but we couldn't because of Corona. But yeah.
Then there's another one. One question is, one of the slides it talked about a transgender school. What does a transgender school exactly mean? What do they do about transgender people?
So they educate them. It's a school in Lahore, because I think you guys may know, but transgenders aren't allowed to study. So there's a school in Lahore which was made to teach and educate transgender people and, you know, enhance their skills and stuff. It's a normal school, it's just that it's with transgender people because they don't have the right to education. And we wanted to talk to them about it because, you know, a lot of transgender people, like I said, aren't educated, and that it makes it harder for them to get jobs, or like, yes, find jobs. So we wanted to talk to them so that they could help us with the transgender people and enhancing their skills for the job the job that they want. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice.
That's fine. And you have quite a few questions coming up. How will the transgender community get access to your website? How do you plan on spreading awareness about this opportunity to the transgender community?
So we've been in touch with a lot of people who are working with transgenders. So we're using them to help market it, and then we also have an Instagram account, like we mentioned in the video. We have an Instagram account which is also, it's dedicated to our website, but also spreading awareness about transgender people and their problems. And we were thinking of like the more people that we talk to, the more we hope to expand our not knowledge, but like our reach. Like we want to reach out to a lot of other people. It's been hard because of COVID, but we're hoping through our Instagram account we will be able to do that.
And we're also hoping once the COVID situation gets better, we were planning on meeting trans people personally, so we can talk to them about like what they would want from the website and stuff. So yeah.
There's another one. When did you first think of this idea? Why did you choose to roll with this?
So in December, I believe we were planning our project and we were thinking about stuff that we could do. And a few of the options were to address people that are drug addicts, poor people, transgender people, and homeless people. And while we were thinking about this, we came to consensus that we thought that transgender people here were one of the communities that people don't often work with. They don't, because there are lots of NGOs dedicated to poor people and drug addicts and homeless people, but no one really pays attention to transgender people. And we thought that if we could do that, we would help them even more. Like there are a few NGOs and people working for transgenders, but we thought because it's really important to address their need even more.
Another question from Ms. Fatma Zahid. How do you guys plan on following up with the companies that you decided to work on with? And just another addition to that question from my side would be, how did you decide on those 4 companies that you shortlisted to approach? Because I can see that it was a really good mix of approaching a school, approaching a beauty salon, management firm. So what was the criterion on shortlisting the companies that you initiated this process with, and how do you now proceed to follow up? Given that you mentioned this in your talk, that this is going to be an ongoing goal and project until the employment rates go up for the transgender community.
So basically, we decided to choose a variety of companies for that like purpose because it's a variety, and so there would be more options for like transgender people. Like if they want a certain job or if they have a certain skill, they'll be able to find a company that needs that skill. And we've been in touch with companies like since our first initial meetings with them, and we've been like back and forth about talking about our project, and that's how we're like following up, and we're arranging meetings with them as well.
Okay, there's another question for you guys. This is from Mahira. She is watching you guys on Facebook Live. Her question is, the companies you guys have contacted, are they making sure that the companies don't exploit the transgender community? And they'll at least get minimum wage and health benefits. So they get equal opportunity and it's not charity. Have you considered that?
Yeah,
actually, you can go, sorry.
Well, that's actually one of the things that we had in our presentation when we were presenting to them. We made sure to address that they would get the same rights as anyone else that had the job, and that they would get paid the same, and that they weren't discriminated against just because they were trans.
Obviously, not a lot of companies would agree with what we say or do what we say because we're just students, but we're hoping that they will. And a lot of companies are still not agreeing to let transgender people enter their workplaces. So we asked them to at least hold workshops. So if they're against letting transgender people work, then at least help them help them enhance their skills and help them enhance their skills and find other jobs if they can't help with that.
Thank you so much, guys. This was a lovely presentation. Thank you. You guys did great. You can now sit back and relax and enjoy the rest of the presentations.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. So people who have just joined us, we have gathered here today to celebrate the success of MYP4 students who have successfully completed their community projects. The community project was spread over 6 months. It was an extended project, and students have gone through phases of investigating, planning, researching, and reflection, and they are very proud and excited to share their presentations today. The group which is next is Isra, Abdul Wahab, and Khushi, and the topic they chose was child abuse and child rights, and we will have them start in another 5 minutes. Would anyone want to comment or give their feedback? We have had 3 of our groups present till now. The first group had a presentation about, yes, the topics are getting quite serious one after another. True, I agree. So the first group presented on education for all. They had made homeschooling packs for government schools, and they wanted them not to miss out on schooling during lockdown. Our second group, Alina and Lara, presented on embracing neurodiversity. They wanted to raise recognition and awareness on children with neurodiversity, and we have quite a few of such students at Headstart Kuri. The third group, who just finished, spoke about transgender rights and equal job opportunities for transgenders. Now, our fourth group, Isra, Khushi, and Abdul Wahab. Are you guys ready?
Yes, miss. We can. Abdul Wahab, would you like to start?
That's a very important project. Could you start by letting us know the story behind EEK?
Abdul Wahab, I think your mic is mute. You'll have to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, story behind EEK, which is our group name, it's actually our initials. A is Abdul, I is Isra, and K is Khushi. And in Urdu, ek means one, and we're basically promoting unity. So my name is Abdul Wahab. My teammates are Isra and Khushi. The topic we chose for our project was child abuse in Pakistan. The community we chose was society in general, as this is a topic that should concern everyone. The reason we chose this topic was to spread awareness, as this is a topic that doesn't get a lot of limelight, and even though it's a significant issue in Pakistan. Thank you.
Completing this project has extended our knowledge on child abuse. Since our objective was awareness and change the behaviors of people regarding the topic, we were told to do a lot of research, which was the main reason on how we gained knowledge. Not only did we do research, but we were able to have an interview with a member from an NGO who works with victims of child abuse, and we were able to ask them questions that would help us understand these situations clearly. We understood the importance of spreading information regarding kids, regarding what kids had gone through, and learned their difficulties, as well as allowing other individuals to comprehend the impact of child abuse.
Khushi, your mic is mute.
I'm sorry. So when Ms. Sarah asked me what I would suggest to anyone who is about to begin working on their community project, so my answer would be firstly to communicate with your group members really well, because this is a project that requires a lot of collaboration, and it requires you and your group members to be on the same page about your ideas, your opinions, and your goals for the project. Additionally, being transparent with your supervisor and asking for support can help you along the process, as they are there to guide you and would not hesitate to clarify any of your concerns. By communicating, I mean sending regular emails, checking up on your group members, and making sure that you're on track with all your tasks and deadlines. Secondly, I would suggest paying attention to time management, as you can easily struggle with juggling schoolwork with updating your process journals and finishing up all the tasks that lead up to your project. Without good time management, you can end up with a lot of tasks left for the last minute, and that wouldn't help your project. So good time management skills can help you achieve your goals efficiently, and it can lead to a successful project overall. Now we would like you to watch our TED Talk.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Khushi, and I'm here with my teammates Abdul Wahab and Isra today to talk to you about our community project. So Isra, Abdul Wahab, and I have been working on this project for about 4 to 5 months now, and we want to share our experience with you today. So first of all, what exactly is the community project? So the community project is a project that provides students from the ages of 13 to 15 an opportunity to collaborate and pursue service learning. It helps students understand the different needs a community might have and how to address those needs. During these 4 or 5 months, we have been collaborating and experiencing the true importance of service learning, and it's been a wonderful experience. So the first step that we took towards initiating our project was our brainstorming session with Ms. Sarah Munir. In this session, we listed about 13 to 14 topics that really meant something to us. And out of those topics, we listed 3 each. And out of those topics, we chose one, which was child abuse. As kids, we have been very lucky to have been taught the importance of knowing what kind of abuse and what it does to a child. And we have been taught the difference of empathetic and abusive communication and how it may impact a child's mental health. So knowing that there are kids all over the world, millions of kids that don't even have any idea that they're being taken advantage of, really made us feel like this topic was something we really wanted to work on. So what did we decide to do? We decided to create comic strips that would help students understand the difference between empathetic and abusive communication. We want to target audiences at the ages of small ages and older people, as this was a problem that dealt with all ages.
So we wanted to choose a medium that would help us reach out to people at the time of a global pandemic. So we chose social media as this medium helps us spread information and positive messages very easily. And we wanted to spread a message that would make people understand that just because children know less about the world than adults do, doesn't mean that they can be taken advantage of. Child abuse, any kind of abuse, talking about these topics is sort of a sensitive topic in Pakistan, and it is heavily affected by culture and traditions and religion as well, and especially in Muslim countries. So what we wanted to do was challenge people out of their comfort zones and talk about something that deserved a lot more attention than it usually got. So this is why we chose personal and cultural expression as our global context. We want to target audiences at of all ages, which means the society at large. And we really want to change the perspectives and the way people perceive this topic. So to understand the topic better, we dived into research, and one of our major milestones when it came to research was a survey that we held for all Headstart students. This survey helped us collect a lot of data and information on what people thought about the topic and how they perceived the topic, their knowledge, their background information, their experiences, and it helped us challenge our research skills and our thinking skills as well. And another research opportunity that we got when it came to research was our interview with the managing director of Rosen. Rosen is a foundation. It's a very well-known organization that works with a lot of different communities. It works with vulnerable groups, institutions, and individual people. And it works on promoting mental health, tolerance, gender equality, and reducing violence against women and children. So we were lucky enough to have gotten the opportunity to collaborate with them and hold an interview with the managing director. And this was also an opportunity that helped us collect a lot more information, especially about the rates and cases in Pakistan. And we really understood how this was affected by culture, and we could connect it to the global context as well. And it was a great opportunity again for research, and we gained a lot of information as a group and collaborated as well. Thank you.
As we were moving forward with our community project, we finally landed into the investigation phase and the planning phase. Now, in our first planning phase meeting, we created a planning sheet. Now, a planning sheet is when you gather all of your intentions and your goals in a form of a table, as well as dates to when you want to complete them. You add in the sources, the potential challenges, who's responsible for each task, and as I mentioned before, when you want to complete them. This planning sheet really did help us stay focused, and it made us meet our deadlines, as well as it made us have a full scope of our project. It also improved our time management skills. Since I mentioned before, we were able to meet deadlines because of this planning sheet. We took inspiration to make this planning sheet from a couple of other students from another school who had done community project. They added it in their process journal, which made us want to do it as well. Our main goal for this project was to spread awareness and to change the behaviors of people regarding this topic. We had come to the conclusion that creating a comic strip would be the best way to reach out to people on social media. The purpose of creating a comic strip helps us more because a visual representation can be more engaging than any other literary media, such as short stories. Comic strips help people of all ages understand the concept better because the context can be visualized. And we chose this goal, as Kushi mentioned, because this is a topic that is never given much attention, although it is a huge problem in our society. The next step towards achieving our goal was to conduct a seminar, which was supposed to be held by a member from the NGO Rosen. So first, we arranged a seminar by first asking in advance if one of the members from Rosen could come in during the interview we had with Sir Bavar, who was the managing director of NGO Rosen. He then told us that we should email him with further details and that he would get back to us later on. Later, he did get back to us and connected us to another member, Miss Saika, who
who is now responsible to conduct the seminar. We encouraged Ms. Saika to come over to our school in person and to conduct the seminar at school, but due to her tight schedule, she was unable to come and it ended up being online. The audience that we had for the seminar were the staff members of our school and teachers. And the reason why was because we thought that it would be easier for us to connect with the adults and that they would be able to understand this issue better. We also made little booklets, as you can see right there, containing our 3 comic strips to give the audience a clear look of what we're going for. And also, the date we chose for this seminar was the 26th of Feb at 11 a.m., which was the best for the both of us. Since our project is to upload our comic strips on a website, we needed a platform. And the way we got a platform was requesting organizations if they could provide us with one. We asked NGO Rosen, and we asked Motherhood Foundation, and we asked Headstart Gray. So we emailed Rosen and the superintendent of Headstart, asking if they could provide us with a platform. And as for Motherhood Foundation, we messaged them privately. It was appropriate for us to ask Rosen because they worked with children who were victims of child abuse, and they really understand the topic, which is why we wanted to upload our comic strips on their website, hoping that it would spread a positive message and they would change perspectives and behaviors. While Motherhood Foundation solely focuses on people's increasing the living standard of people's lives, and by innovative thinking and practicing the affordable solutions with their valued strength. After creating our comic strips, we sent them out to Motherhood Foundation requesting for feedback. They contributed and gave us feedback and what mistakes we had made and how to fix them. For one of the comic strips a mistake we made is that they told us that we should add "my parents/teachers support me" instead of saying "people defend me." For another comic strip, they told us to add in teachers and parents instead of people. So after we changed it, After the seminar and the feedback, we requested Rosen if he could publish our comic strips on their website. And unfortunately, they did not get back with a response. So then we considered this a small setback for our project and group, but we decided to move on, and we ended up emailing the superintendent of Headstart Curry. She then gave us approval that we could upload the comic strips on the website. And she also suggested a few edits that we should make for our comic strips, which would make it understandable for our viewers more, which we greatly appreciated. After making our final copies of the comic strips, they're now uploaded on the Headstart website. So these were our final comic strips that we posted on the website. And here are the comic strips on the Headstart website.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Abdul Wahab. I'm here to talk about how this project improved our ATL skills and our major milestones, our setbacks, and reflect upon what we learned throughout the project. So our ATL skills. The first skill was critical thinking, which played an important role in our project. We observed and recognized child abuse as a topic that wasn't getting enough attention in Pakistan and globally. We gathered a lot of information regarding the topic and evaluated several questions. The second skill was communication, which we improved through discussions, brainstorming ideas, and planning our next move. The third skill is collaboration, which we improved through designing our comic strips together, working on the aesthetics of our products, and designing and presenting our presentations. The third skill was organizational skills, which we improved through deadlines, short-term and long-term goals, and keeping an organized record through our process journals. So, and we applied a few, we were also able to apply a few attributes from the IB learner profile. For example, we became inquirers through investigating child abuse in Pakistan. We became better communicators by through discussions and planning. Through discussions and planning, we became better. We became better at reflecting through our process journal entries. A few of our major milestones were that we managed to hold an interview with Rosen. The second one was that they also conducted an online seminar at our school. We made our comic strips and then distributed them to the audience after the seminar. And we were also able to post the comics on social media and the official Headstart website. Our major setback was that we weren't able to post our comics on the website of the NGOs Rosen and Motherhood, unfortunately due to the lack of communication. However, we managed to publish it on the official school website. Our main takeaway from this project is that we learned how social issues like child abuse are handled in Pakistan, and we learned a lot from each other throughout the project. We learned the true importance of social service, and we learned the true importance of social service. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you for watching. We would be happy to take any questions and feedback.
Thank you, Isra, Sufiya, and Abdul Wahab. I do have a question for you. Could you let me know if there was any one moment in this journey that convinced you that choosing this topic was worth it? It is a highly sensitive topic that you came up with, and you used such a great strategy to bring it up using a comic strip. Have you utilized or stumbled upon any effective strategy to convince the victims of child abuse to come forward? And what was that one moment that made choosing this topic worth it?
Choosing this topic, the question you asked about whether we thought it was worth it, we really did, because the feedback that we got from the audience after the seminar was really, we were really happy to get the feedback that we got, because the teachers reacted very well, and they asked us questions, and they were very interested in why we chose this project. And could you repeat the second question, please?
Did you eventually stumble on or work on an effective strategy that could convince the victims of child abuse to come forward? Because that remains to be that hinging point, which is quite the crux of the problem, that these victims do not come forward. So within your comic strips or these seminars, was any effective strategy discussed upon?
So during the seminar, Ms. Saika mostly explained how adults themselves can create a better environment for children. And our project itself was mainly focused on making people aware of the effects that it has. So it was not entirely focused on how we would make the children come out of this, come out of their bubbles and really talk about this topic. But that's definitely something we would want to work on in the future. Thank you.
If anyone wants to ask a question or comment, you can unmute and engage with the students.
So I would like it's not exactly a question, but I would want your viewpoint on it, that child abuse comes in many different forms. And one of them is also emotional abuse. And at times, parents who are educated are unconsciously exposing their kids to emotional abuse by setting up high standards, or pushing their children towards achieving things that are, puts them under immense amount of stress. So have you taken parents as a target audience for yourself to, and I'm talking about educated parents, not the ones who might not be so educated or who are not aware of it, but how have you tackled emotional abuse in terms of stress that is given to children by their parents?
So one of our comic strips covered the emotional impact that parents might make on a child by, pushing them when they cannot do something. So this one was focused on how children are pressured to move up their grades in school, and how if parents scold them about it or push them too hard, it can impact them emotionally. And it showed showed all the impacts and why it was wrong. So yeah, we covered that in that one.
We have another question for you guys. What role does your comic strip play in children who are currently being abused?
As I said before, the main focus of our project was to make mostly the public aware about how they can impact children. So one small thing that we added to our comic strips was that asking for help and making sure that the children are surrounded by people that actually support them. As Esther said in her TED Talk too, one of the comic strips covered how asking for support and help can really help children come out and talk about something like this.
Do we have any more questions or any comments? Thank you, Abdul Wahab, Hushi, and Isra. That was a beautiful presentation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. So while we wait for our other group to start, I would like to share this video. One of our participants also asked for it. So maybe perhaps we could watch it for the next 10 minutes while we wait for the next group to join.
That actions actually make a difference is the first step towards a project's success. But there are also other important factors that contribute to a project's outcome.
Education is a fundamental right for all children, which is why we wanted our project to focus on tackling this educational crisis caused by the pandemic. Our project worked towards creating equal opportunities for such children without internet, therefore fitting into the global context of fairness and development.
Behind this very passionate talk is 6 months of iterative planning.
So the community project is a project with 5 stages, and each stage puts you through different tasks which help you reach your final goal. So for my project, my final goal was to create homeschooling packs for children in government schools that didn't have access to going to school or any mode of online learning due to COVID and the lockdown.
Phase 1 of the project, the introduction, was spread over the month of November when student groups were formulated and a virtual brainstorming session was organized to identify needs in the community.
One of them would be children who don't have access to school due to COVID, orphanages, so orphans, you could say.
Before the brainstorming session, the students were introduced to the project itself. An accompanying website was also launched to host project guidelines and student progress.
Community project as well as the personal project coupled together are known as projects for MYP. So we call them MYP projects.
The parent body was also introduced to the project aims and objectives so that they support and encourage the students. Students collaboratively work in groups of 2 or 3 and were assigned a project supervisor.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Amna Osman and I am originally an MYP math teacher. The team that I'm supervising believes that education is a right for all and it should be accessible to everyone, especially in this pandemic. Where the online option is an option for a very select few. So for that, my team is actually working towards creating an educational pack for grade 1 and 2. My role as a supervisor is more of a sounding board. The students, they discuss their plans, their ideas in front of me, and my job is to either push them to think more or consider other variables, or advise them to pull back on a few things because they might be ambitious in the time frame that they're working on, or encourage them basically to stay on the track that they're going on.
Real sense of accomplishment is felt when the needs of the targeted community are met and the contribution is acknowledged.
My name is Anila Nasir and I'm headmistress at Islamabad Model School, Mal. And it was great to hear from Headstart and the students of Headstart School. They have brought these resource pack for our students, and they are wonderful. Like the SLOs and the concepts and the activities were very interactive, and it is almost similar to our curriculum. So there was nothing new in it, but it was really actually covering the main topics of our SLOs and the curriculum, which we are teaching here in the government schools. And thank you, Headstart.
I was able to learn a lot of things from this project and how everything in this community works. For me, helping a community was a very big deal, of which I'm very proud of.
Approaches to learning skills are developed throughout all stages of the project, with special emphasis on
was able to learn a lot of things from this project and how everything in this community works. For me, helping a community was a very big deal, of which I'm very proud of.
Approaches to learning skills are developed throughout all stages of the project, with special emphasis on research skills during the second phase called investigating.
So I think it's almost time we can watch this later and have our second group, our next group to present. So for people who have just joined us, this is the community project exhibition for the MYP 5 students, MYP 4, sorry, I keep saying MYP 5, MYP 4 students. The students have been working for the last 6 months on this project, and they are very proud and happy to be sharing it with you today. Our next group is Kainat and Sarah, and they want to call their project the Women Hygiene Project. Sarah and Kainat, are you guys with us?
Kainat and Sarah, could you
Are you guys ready?
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah and my partner is Kainat. The topic we chose for our project is the women's hygiene. And we chose this topic because in developed parts of the world, the menstrual cycle is seen as nothing but an act of nature. However, in less fortunate areas in Pakistan, many are not aware of the biology and basic facts behind it. Not only this, but they lack the wealth to invest in sanitary products, which result in them having to resort to pieces of cloth. This can lead to infection and many other long-term effects to health. So if we were given a chance to redo our community project, I think we would definitely begin by improving our planning. So it is much easier to go through with a project when you write down the steps of your plan in a lot of detail and include how long you think it will take. If we had done that, we would have been able to utilize a lot more time and probably been able to reach a much larger audience. Another thing we would like to improve would probably be communication. When you're working in a group, communication is one of the most important things. And when you're in sync and you understand what is happening with each member in your group, you're able to kind of be on the same page and get tasks done easily and faster. So communication and planning would be the two things that we would really improve on if we were given the opportunity to redo our community project. Now we would love it if you could watch our TED Talk.
Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Kainat and my partner's name is Sarah. Today we are here to present our MYP4 community project, the Women's Hygiene Project. Our project is based on the very sensitive topic of periods, which we all know is very uncomfortable for the majority to talk about. So we wanted to focus on making this a more open-ended discussion as a whole. Initially, we wanted to support underprivileged families with resources and any help we could give them. But then given our time frame, we decided to narrow our community down to women, and more specifically, women's hygiene. The topic of women's hygiene is taboo in many areas in Pakistan. And being an educated person myself, I've seen that even amongst my friends and my family, we are all still embarrassed to talk about this. We have questions that we can't ask because we feel as if we'll be judged. And so you can imagine how underprivileged communities that have never spoken about this openly, how they have to experience this process. It's obviously a normal process, it's biological, but many women believe many myths and misconceptions surrounding it. So for example, a teacher in a government school was teaching the 8th grade class about cancer, and a young girl started bleeding, and she believed that she had cancer because of the lack of knowledge. Another example is that many mothers believe that sanitary pads are laced with chemicals, and therefore they do not teach their daughters about it. They don't let them use them. And so when the girls grow up and they decide they want to use them, they cannot, or they don't use them properly, they leave them on for too long, and this leads to infection, or it can lead to very serious health problems in the future. Underprivileged women work a lot. They are in charge of the domestic work in their household. They cook for their family, they clean, they take care of the children. And then on top of this huge mountain of work, they have to worry about leaking through their clothes or leaking on the furniture, and then how they would clean that. When they go through pain, they don't have a simple medication they can access. They have to go on with their day, and they don't have the option to take a day off or call in sick because their family depends on them financially sometimes and domestically. So we realized this, and we saw that we take a lot of our opportunities for granted. We don't appreciate simple medication we have or products that we have access to. And so we wanted to help these women as much as we could. So how did we decide to do that? We decided that it would be effective to give them talks with their lack of knowledge, and then distribute kits to them that would help them in their hygiene and would utilize the knowledge that we gave to them. We thought that this would at least relieve some of the stress they go through daily. After our investigating phase, we moved on to planning, and we began this by drafting a goal and a global context. We chose the global context of fairness and development because we believe that this topic is very strongly related to equality. Because of the women's lack of knowledge, they can't carry out certain tasks. They have to be much more careful, and therefore they're restricted and don't get the same opportunities as men. So regarding this, we wanted to encourage the speakers to tell these women how to speak to their daughters as well as their sons, because it's important to educate men as well as women so that when they grow up, when men grow up, they are able to make the women around them comfortable. And the topic can be much more openly discussed when both parties are willing to talk about it. We also wanted to provide the women that we talked to with a sustainable solution. So we brainstormed that we could contact the government and reach out to them because of what happened in Scotland, where they reduced the cost of sanitary products, or in India, where they took off the tax completely. We wanted to propose an idea similar to this, but we realized realistically it would be much more helpful to these women to offer them a solution that they could immediately use. So we moved on to researching reusable products. Our target audience was women from the ages of 19 to 40 who were already familiar with the menstrual cycle, and they had experienced it, and they were at least a little bit more comfortable than younger women. So if we came and supplied them with products, they would be comfortable receiving them, and they would already understand at least a little bit about how they work and how to use it. The first organization we came across was Recircle, who manufacture menstrual cups. Another organization we came across was the Red Code by UNICEF that manufacture cloth pads, and they already actually distribute to rural areas in Pakistan. So we thought that they would be an ideal partner for us to collaborate with. On the Jamboard, you can see many of the questions that me and my partner had to answer to successfully execute this plan and go through with the project and achieve the goals that we wanted to. This is an extremely, extremely sensitive topic among these underprivileged women. They have never been exposed to it, and they've never been exposed to an environment where they can comfortably speak about what they're going through. They cannot ask for advice in an open way that is free of judgment, or at least they don't think they can. So we wanted to focus a lot on making them feel like this wasn't something to be embarrassed about. This was something that they should talk about and they should discuss with their friends and their family. After the planning phase, we moved on to taking action. We began this phase by contacting as many people as we could that we thought would help our project and our goal. We created a campaign and drafted a logo. We made an Instagram account to help raise awareness. And we also made donation posters that we put across the school with donation boxes. Over the course of 2 weeks, we generated about 3,000 rupees. And we also acquired a loan from the student council that allowed us to purchase 45 kits in total. Each kit contains a pack of pads, shampoo sachets, soap, and then a brochure that we created with health tips and ways for these women to deal with their pain or any other problems they are going through in a way that is accessible for them. We wanted to make the packaging very nice and discreet, so these women didn't feel embarrassed carrying it around, number one, and then also that they were happy receiving it, that they didn't feel like we were forcing something on them, and that they wanted it and they wanted the help as well. So that was one of our goals. In relation to the sustainable solutions that we wanted to provide, we could not get Recircle because they were concerned with our lack of knowledge and the fact that we ourselves were not menstrual cup users, which is an extremely valid point. And another thing that they were not sure about was that when these women get used to using that product, when they are no longer able to use it and they go to buy more, they will not be able to because it generally is a very expensive product. So we had to shift our focus onto the Red Code. We exchanged many emails and negotiated a price. But unfortunately, because of the coronavirus, we could not acquire the products in time for the talks. And we still have not been able to because of the recent third wave of corona. But as soon as we get them, we will be able to contact the people who helped us organize the talks, and then we'll be able to distribute them to the attendees. After we put together the kits, we were able to organize the talks. We first started with a talk with the Christian community that hosted 20 women with the help of Mr. Fayaz, a staff member at our school. And then another talk with the Kuri support staff, which hosted 5 women. And then another talk with the NRSP, Natural Rural Support Program, which hosted 20 women. The first speaker, Zafishan Hasib, could not attend the other 2 talks, but she's very knowledgeable. And both speakers helped me, even taught me things that I didn't know. And so I think that they were very effective in delivering the message that we wanted to portray. They talked about the importance of hygiene, how to talk to your children, and also the biology, how to deal with pain, etc. Again, we wanted to make these women as comfortable as possible, so they felt not only just comfortable, but happy receiving our advice, and they wanted our advice instead of them seeing us as just these people who were coming to do a simple community project they had to do. We wanted this to be a discussion rather than just us giving a speech and then leaving. So they were able to ask us questions about what they were going through at the time, and we were able to offer them solutions that were immediate and that could help them as soon as they had the problems. So I think that in the end, we did that very well, and we made them as happy and comfortable as possible. Them, as they saw us coming in and talking about this so openly, how we talked about this as it wasn't something to be embarrassed about, they see how this is not something that is bad or it's dirty or it's unhygienic. They now view menstruation and periods as something that is natural, and they don't think it's something they should hide or be embarrassed about. So I have covered the investigating, planning, and taking action phases, and now I will be passing it on to my partner who will be telling you about the reflection phases. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My partner just explained you the first 3 phases of our project, and now I'll be explaining the reflecting part. We completed what we have hoped for to do what was mentioned in our proposal. In total, we distributed 45 kits and we had 3 talks. Even though we could not give them a sustainable solution, we provided them with what we thought would be beneficial for their daily hygiene. However, a big part of our project was to give them a sustainable solution. We had roadblocks that prevented us from getting these, but utilizing our knowledge, we gave them a more sustainable solution. For example, medical role. We also had finance problems, but still achieved our main goal by thinking more in depth and finding a solution that wouldn't take a lot of time, but still be effective. We listened to the movement's feedback and the speakers themselves. We learned from what they had taken from the experiences, and we will put this towards our campaign to educate them. After completing the project, we have learned that there is a massive lack of awareness on this topic and many harmful myths around it. We ourselves learned new things the speakers discussed, which showed us that even those who have received education are still uninformed. By doing this project, our communication skills have developed. We wrote many emails and reached out to different companies. We also communicated to the women themselves. Organization has been very important in our project. It helped us keep track of what we were doing and what had to be done. It was a great experience, and we got to see what we take for granted. We also have been able to appreciate what we have more. The women were very accepting. Usually people are not very comfortable talking about this topic because they think it's embarrassing to talk about. We fill the gap between the people who know and people who want to know about but are too committed to societal norms. The speakers were very knowledgeable. The women who attended our talks wanted to attend more talks, and they wanted to bring more women. Most of the women said that they learned about many things that they never knew before. For example, before, their mothers told them not to take a bath if they have periods, but now they know that they have to keep themselves clean all the time. You have to take care of yourself. Now we'll show you an interview from one of our attendees.
हेलो अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मेरा नाम नताशा है। आज हमने वुमेन हाइजीन प्रोजेक्ट के बारे में सीखा और काफ़ी चीज़ें ऐसी हमने सीखी हैं जो कि हमें पहले नहीं था पता। जैसे कि हमने आज सीखा है कि पीरियड्स में अपने आप की सफाई रखनी चाहिए। तो हमने पहले यही सीखा अपनी माँओं से या पहले जो भी थे उनसे यही सीखा है कि नहाना नहीं चाहिए या फिर ऐसे करना चाहिए वैसे नहीं करना चाहिए। तो ये चीज़ आज मैंने कन्फर्मली सीख ली है कि नहीं, इसमें भी अपनी सफाई रखना ज़रूरी है और कैसे कैसे अगर आपको पेन्स हैं या कुछ भी इशू चल रहा है तो उसका क्या तरीक़ेकार है और अपने बच्चों को हम कैसे बेहतर तरीके से सिखा सकते हैं, बता सकते हैं और अपनी ख़ासतौर पे बेटियों के साथ कैसे फ्रेंडली उन्हें हर चीज़ के बारे में, सफाई के बारे में या जो जो भी उनके इश्यूज हैं वो कैसे डिस्कस कर सकते हैं.
We would be happy to take your questions now.
Please feel free to open your mic and ask a question or engage in conversation with the group.
There's one question in the chat. How did you guys make sure that these women actually used your projects when they went home instead of hiding them from the others in their families as a result of still being ashamed?
So I would say that we did not really make sure, but when we were having the discussion, these women shared with us what they had already been doing and how they had been using medical role and how they had already had kind of short-term solutions that they were using, and they did tell us that they did appreciate the products that we came and gave them, and unfortunately we could not confirm that they were using it at their homes, but I think that we did put a lot of trust in what they were telling us, which is that they did not really hide this as much and they would use the products, but definitely in future attempts, we would definitely try to confirm with them that they would go home and use these products instead of being ashamed of them. Thank you for your question.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, please go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you that, this was an opportunity to engage with a community that generally you guys don't engage with. So whatever you have learned through this process, you think later on in your life, you would like to create more opportunities of interaction with the communities that you worked with?
I think that's definitely something that is very important. If this community project helped us it forced us into an environment where we had to communicate with underrepresented, and I think that in the future we would definitely like to engage with them much more instead of ignoring them, because they are a very big part of our community. So in the future, we would definitely like to engage with them more and even take this project further and engage many more communities and even in more places in Pakistan. Thank you for your question.
I had a question. So just talking about engaging with the community and having a meaningful discussion with them, which you girls did so excellently. You mentioned that you wanted it to be more of a discussion rather than just something on a checklist, and for them not to feel like it was just a project for you. And you mentioned that they felt happy and comfortable. And given that this is traditionally an uncomfortable topic, and given that there might have been a barrier, that this is an underprivileged group, what do you think made it effective in your strategy, in your communication? What do you think allowed them to feel comfortable and happy, as you mentioned, and bridge that gap and allowed them to be engaged and for you to get meaningful feedback that you said you say you can trust? What do you think made that interaction more comfortable and genuine, I would say?
So I think what the biggest part of making these women feel comfortable was how the speakers themselves approached it. They asked the women if they were comfortable speaking about this, and if they were not, then the speakers made them comfortable. So they explained to them how this is something that is not in our control and it is not dirty or unhygienic, it is part of life. And the biggest part would probably be that we started by asking questions. We wanted them to share their experiences with us before we just suddenly came and started, throwing topics on them that they had never been exposed to. So we wanted to start by seeing how comfortable they were. So by them talking to us first and asking us questions, we were able to kind of judge how sensitive the topic was amongst the different communities. And so I think the biggest thing that built trust was how we spoke to them. We didn't speak to them like, it wasn't a speech. The speakers didn't suddenly stand in front of them and start, delivering a very long dialogue without much emotion. A lot of it was them interacting with us and them commenting in the middle or asking questions about pain they were experiencing at the time. So I think a lot of what contributed is the fact that we did not just come and, throw so many topics on that they had never been exposed to. And so it was very much the fact that they were also open to discussing with us because they knew that it was a problem in their society and they were aware of that fact. Thank you for your question. I hope that answered it.
I have a question. So did you feel comfortable about talking about this topic in front of everyone, even though it's considered personal?
I would definitely say that even by the name of our project, you can tell that we were a little bit skeptical. The fact that we called it a project on women's hygiene and we did not specifically say, this is a project about periods and menstruation. You can kind of see how we, even as people who have received a very high education, we are still sensitive about it. And I think it did take a little bit of courage to speak about this, and even especially amongst men, because you still have a fear of being judged because it's still not open even in elitist society. But I think that we kept in mind that we need to be the confident ones in order to help these women become the confident people as well. So I think it did take a little bit of skepticism, but in the end, it was important for these women, for us to be confident talking about this so that they would also become comfortable with it. Thank you for your question.
There's another question in the chat. What is your stance on also including men as part of the target in order to raise awareness rather than women? And if I may add, do you think that you could have extended the scope of this project in terms of the target audience to include younger girls, or was it just targeted to an women audience?
I'm sorry, ma'am, you were a little bit staticky. Could you repeat the question?
Let me know if you can hear me fine. Mehek is asking that what is your stance on also including men as part of your target audience in order to raise awareness rather than just restricting yourself to women? You may also answer my question that you have also included younger girls as part of your target audience for this project.
So, sorry.
Did you understand the question, Kainath, or do you want me to read this again?
I understood. It's two questions, right?
Yes. Go ahead.
So in regards to the question about us honoring men, I think that is very important. And I did mention in the TED Talk that we wanted to make the discussion open for both genders, because in order for it to be open-minded, everybody has to feel comfortable. And so definitely, I think it would have been, because this is such a sensitive topic, introducing men so early on to these women in the discussions would not give them an open space. At one point in one of our talks, we had to send out the photographer and one of the supervisors who were male, because the women did not feel completely comfortable. And so I definitely think it is very important to include the men in the conversation, but starting so earlier on, when this topic is extremely, extremely taboo, it would be much more, it should be a gradual change. So we should start by educating the women and then bringing men in. I think that would be much more effective than just putting the women in one room and explaining it to them the whole time. Or in fact, having a separate discussion for men would also be very important. But I definitely think that men should be included in this conversation. We definitely think that.
Hello,
Lovely.
Kainath.
Sorry. Please go ahead. I'll read out the question. Please go ahead.
Sorry, I couldn't join you earlier on, but you may have answered this question. But in your community project, did you get a sense that this subject is talked about by the adult women with their children?
So they did tell us that they didn't know how to properly communicate with their daughters. A lot of their daughters would ask them questions that they did not have the answers to. So they did, of course, discuss it with their daughters, because even in uncomfortable communities that are very sensitive about this, they would still talk to their daughters, because it is important to educate your own family. But they did tell us that, they even asked us questions about what their daughters were going through. So they asked us, my daughter's experiencing this, how do I help her? Because with their lack of knowledge, they don't know the answers. So I think that they definitely do talk to their daughters, but because of their lack of knowledge, they can't answer most of the questions that their children ask them. But I think that right now they do talk to their daughters quite a lot, and they do communicate with them. Thank you for your question. I think there was, sorry?
Sorry, I was going to ask a follow-up question. Do you think it's useful to have some sort of pamphlet or information leaflet that could be given out to people, in this community, so that if they are finding it difficult, at least they have something to read? I guess reading and writing might also be a difficult thing for them as well.
So we actually did make a brochure and we put it in the kit. So we wrote it in Urdu so that it would be easy for them to understand. And there was a case where somebody could not actually read it, but the lady next to her read it for her. And so eventually the information was conveyed. But we did create a brochure which explained how to use the products. We had given them for the longest duration that they could, and also additional health tips and remedies they could make at home with any materials you can find in your kitchen. So we did actually create a brochure for them so that they had a piece of information that would last longer than just words. Thank you for your question.
Great,
Anand, I'm
thank
going
you.
to read out the last question for you. I'm reading it from Facebook Live. As you started by letting them asking questions, in your opinion, was their knowledge just basic, or did you find some serious issues with their thoughts and approaches to the topic?
So one of the biggest myths that they followed is that you cannot bathe when you're on your period, you cannot wash yourself, and it's not allowed. Their mothers told them that they have to refrain from doing a lot of different things on their periods, and I think that was the most concerning thing. And the fact that they did not keep clean, which is one of the most important things when you're going through your menstrual cycle. So when we asked them, they did tell us that they had misconceptions that we had to explain to them were wrong, and that they had to understand that it is important to clean at all times, and the period should not affect any other areas in your life. Thank you for your question.
No, I thought this was the last one, but we have another one. I think this will be the last one. Did you do any research on why this topic is taboo in so many cultures? Did you research about that?
We did research. We saw many different campaigns, and so we wanted to see the reason for this. And it's mostly just because it's mostly just because people think because of, I'm sorry, 1 second, I need to get my thoughts. So I think the main problem is that women's mothers and their mothers have kind of passed on the fact that you can't bathe, you can't use products are not, and I think a lot of religious aspect comes into it. So many people think, you can't use products because they have chemicals, and you can't be exposed to that, or it's haram, and then women just don't use them, and that leads to infection. So I think a lot of research when we did, it was that the biggest problem was that people were just led by misconceptions because of their different communities. They were led to believe myths that just kind of made no sense, and they were kind of just out of nowhere, and they didn't really have any backing, but they were just things that the community had believed for so long. So the newer generation could do nothing else but believe it. So I think that's what we found out most in our research.
Thank you, girls. Thank you so much. This was a lovely presentation. We all thoroughly enjoyed that.
Thank you so much for your question.
We are now going to move forward to the next presentation. Our next group is Abdullah, Imama, and Daniel. Are you guys with us? The topic that they have chosen is educating on sexual harassment. And if you all are here and if you're ready, we can start.
Miss, can you hear me?
Yes, Daniel, I very much can. Please switch on your videos and then we can start.
Okay. So, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Daniel Mushir, and I'm joined by my partners Abdullah, Rafichi, and Imama Hanan. Our topic for the community project is prevention of sexual assault on campuses. And the reason for choosing this specific topic was that in our society, it is considered very taboo and no one wants to come forward to speak about it or talk about it. The targeted community for this project was high school students, and the need was to create a safe environment for everyone in high school. Can you start with the video? Miss, can you play the video?
Sure.
For a project, we would
Imama, we can't hear you. Can you unmute?
I'm sorry. For a project, we had to create an action plan, which was to be executed in phase 4 of our project, taking action. In order to implement our action plan, we created online posters with information such as how and why one should seek help, as well as that we created a website, which was made a safe platform and accessible to masses. We held informative talks at branches of Headstart Korea, and we believe that we got the message out, although there were only 2 talks. One thing we could not accomplish was hosting talks at hosting a talk at a radio station. And one of the last things that we did was create an Insta page, on which we displayed all our work and our website.
So from our project, we learned the importance of communication and teamwork. We gained more information on how sexual assault can affect people and the social taboos surrounding the topic, because it was definitely not an easy thing to talk to people about, because it's such a taboo topic and obviously it can be triggering to some people. So it wasn't as welcome as we might have wanted for like a more open talk. But regardless of that, we learned about the effects, and we tried to do our best to talk to people and, you know, help them understand and educate them. Here is our presentation.
Good morning, everyone, and assalamu alaikum. Today, my partners Imama, Daniel, and I are going to be presenting to you our community project and how we executed it. But before we get to that, let's talk about why we did this in the first place. I remember when I was 8 years old and visiting Lahore with my mother. I begged her to take me to a theme park. She was busy and no one had any free adults around to supervise me while I was visiting. I was adamant on going and practically on my knees when she agreed to send me with our driver. Around the evening time, I had rode every ride at least 3 times, if not 10. Before I could process it, a man from one of the rides came up to me, told me that I was brave, and then forced himself onto me. He forcefully made me kiss him while my driver watched and told me not to tell anyone. The day quickly reached an end and I was taken home, and to this day I don't remember if I told anyone. This is why we're doing this. The kind of sexual assault which I just read to you was an anonymous submission from a brave survivor. We are doing this because we want to give victims such as this one a comfortable, conscious, and understanding atmosphere to come forward with their stories without being shamed or blamed for being harassed. Helping our community have the access to the resources to seek help is something which allows us to have the ease of knowing that we made an effort to make a difference and help a small number of people. The issue of sexual harassment is one which affects everyone. Throughout history, women and men have faced sexual harassment but have been forced to stay quiet as a result of social taboos in place which make it a risk to come forward with your story. Our goal is to create a safer, more understanding space under which victims have all the resources needed to share their story and begin the process of healing from their experiences. We are doing this for all of the women and men who have held these traumas with them, for all of the people among us who have experienced the atrocities and have been scarred by sexual harassment or assault. So how are we planning to achieve our goals? Creating awareness may not be directly benefiting a community, but it can make a huge impact under which we have a better educated and understanding environment. Teaching those around us of the effects and consequences of sexual harassment is a vital component to approaching the issue with understanding. We're planning to make an impact which will create a better world which disregards social taboos and creates a safer environment. Our project seeks to start a movement where victims feel safe to come forward and have all the resources to do so. Though our project felt many hiccups, we've created and formulated a goal which is achievable, effective, and for a truly workable, impactful, and dynamic project. Educating those around us is vital for our project. Through using our personal experiences, our project adds a personal touch. Emotion is key to reach our audience. We made sure to plan everything, including our products and process, before beginning the project in order to make it certain that organization was our first priority. So here are some indispensable information which we uncovered during our research phase, which we incorporated into our project and its products. What is sexual harassment? The issue of sexual harassment can be classified as unconsensual sexual activity. This can be from unwanted touching to verbal abuse or anything which violates and traumatizes the victim, which is sexual in nature. With the social taboos and lines drawn around this topic, especially in our country, it's difficult to come forward with your story and seek help. It is a significant issue which women and men have to deal with regardless of where they are. It manifests itself in schools, the home, the workplace, and other areas of life. It has been researched that over 1 in 3 women have been sexually harassed. Sexual harassment can take place within a few seconds to even a few years, depending on the nature of the abuse. And the ways it can affect a victim can range depending on the severity and how long they had to face it. What does sexual harassment look like? Sexual harassment can take form in verbal, physical, and visual forms within schools, the home, the workplace, and other environments. Verbal sexual harassment includes spreading rumors, sexual comments on someone's body or sexuality, and inappropriate and unwanted conversations. Physical sexual harassment can be inappropriate touching and rape, and visual sexual harassment includes spreading nudes and indecent exposure, which are growing to be even more common in today's digital world. So what are the effects of sexual harassment on a victim? The effects of sexual harassment include anxiety, depression, sleep disorders, weight gain and weight loss, and other effects on self-esteem or confidence, which constantly make victims feel insecure and unstable of the fear they face during the harassment. Thank you.
At the start of this phase, we had a meeting with our supervisor in which we discussed the possibilities, and we were given a list of topics to choose from. My group and I chose 3 topics from the list, and finally we decided on sexual assault. Since it wasn't possible to work on the whole topic itself, we decided to narrow it down and make it more relevant to our community. And the topic we chose was prevention of sexual assault on campuses. After a session of brainstorming, we decided our audience would be high school students and not younger students, because this topic is very sensitive and they are not as mature to understand compared to compared to older students. Initially, the goal plan was educate high school and diploma students to identify, prevent, and learn the consequences of sexual assault and harassment on school campuses by creating posters and an online website reachable by QR code. But to make it more challenging, our supervisor came up with the idea of a radio show and talks in our school. After finally coming up with the goal, we compiled it in a document which prepared us for the next phase. The third and fourth phases of our community project are planning and taking action. During these phases, we had meetings with the supervisor, and after brainstorming quite a bit, we came up with a few different ideas, which included creating a website, posters, a social media handle, and talks in our school and a radio show. The reason for designing posters was because they were a mode of effective communication and they could be distributed easily with no difficulty. We decided to conduct interactive sessions with students to give them first-hand knowledge and to receive their feedback. Talks are also an effective way to communicate with our audience. The sole purpose of going onto a radio show was to spread our message to a larger audience, and the posters were made with accurate information about sexual harassment, and national helplines were added so that students could seek help if needed. The social media handle was made so we could display our work and also to raise awareness. Our posters were designed online on the platform Canva according to a few factors, which were adding to the point information, conveying a strong message with a subtle feel to it, and making them relatable for victims but not triggering. We only managed to give talks on 2 of our campuses, but it was a great experience because we received a lot of feedback, and because we received a lot of feedback from students and teachers. As for the visit to the radio station, we contacted 3 radio stations. Contacted 3 radio stations, but got no response after waiting for a long time. Then we had the idea of contacting a podcast, but again received no response. This shows that people do not want to break the social taboo and are ignorant about the topic. This is our proposal of action, which basically had most of our plan in it. These are our talks in school. This was our talk at Curry campus, and this was our talk at GTR campus. And these are our posters. Website. So our social media handle has most of our work and pictures. And this is an example of one of the emails we sent to the radio stations, but until now we have received no response. It's been almost 2 months.
As we began stage 5 reflecting, it required us to reflect on the overall progress of our community project, while mainly focusing on phase 4, which is taking action. It gave us an opportunity to reflect on how we, on our service, and to create an oral presentation ready to share our project with the Headstart community. During phase 4, which is taking action, we wanted to do many things to raise awareness. One of the things was awareness talks at branches of Headstart and creating a website. As for the talks that we held and the helplines that we reached out to, we got a pretty positive response, and which shows us that we got our message out, and that had a good impact. And although we couldn't manage to do all that we wanted to tone down such a growing problem, I believe that we had a great impact on trying to just even make schools a comfortable environment for students. And that we got our message out to masses. And I would really like to continue this project in the future, as we all know that it's a growing problem, and it's not something that would stop with just a few people creating a base for awareness. Rather, it requires a much larger base of individuals who would want to serve such a cause. And as we went through the different stages of our project, we developed and picked up on various ADL skills that helped us further on in our project. And during phase 1, considering our group hadn't worked together before, it was important for us to collaborate as we hadn't worked together before. And we worked in order to identify prior knowledge regarding the service, which is basically what we had in mind about the topic and how we grasped it. We developed information literacy skills, which helped us find, evaluate, and organize information. As objective 2 planning came along, we were still working on collaboration. We picked up on creative and critical thinking skills, which helped us think of a proposal of action plan and figure out how we wanted to put it out, as well as organization skills, which later helped us figure out what we wanted to do first in order of what was most important and what needed the most time. And objective 3 was taking action, and it required us to demonstrate service action as a result of the project. And we used communication, creative skills, and organization skills. Objective 4, which was reflection, it required us to assess the overall quality and overall quality of our project and figure out where we went wrong and what we did correctly, and overall progress and how it extended our knowledge, as well as our development of ADL skills and IB learner profile attributes. And as we couldn't do what we wanted, like based on our initial action proposal plan, which included creating a website and making creating a website and going to talk on radio shows. We created alternatives for that, one of which was an Instagram handle, which helped us show our website and video, and creating a YouTube video which showed our website, posters, and extra information. Lastly, I would like to say that sexual harassment poses an obstacle to peace and security, and as a tool of war, it can become a way of life. Once entrenched in the fabric of society, it lingers long after the guns have fallen silent. And yeah, sorry, that's it.
Abdullah,
Daniel,
Daniel, and
can you,
would
sorry.
ask questions now?
If you have any questions, please feel free to ask us. I would love to elaborate and help you.
Hi, Daniel, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So first and foremost, I must congratulate you on choosing this topic. It's not an easy topic to do. Now, in the West, especially in the US and the UK, there are national registers for people who have been involved in such activities. So my two questions are, do we have a national register in Pakistan, and how widespread is the problem in the country as a whole?
Abdullah, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So from our research, we understood that around 30% of women are sexually harassed, like on the planet. We didn't do, I don't have the statistics at the point for the Pakistan in, like, you know, specifically, but that's around 1 in 3 women who have been sexually harassed, which is crazy to think about. It's really scary. Yeah.
Thanks.
There's another question for you guys in the chat. What did you figure out is the best way to talk about this? Posters, website, or direct talking?
So we decided to go with posters, talks, and like a website because we wanted to have something that was accessible, and obviously talks aren't accessible. We have to be there. But with the posters and the website, what we did is when we actually put it on the campuses, the students would have access to it all the time. And if they ever felt like they needed the help, and they could kind of look at them, or even if they didn't, it would be really good for them to have the general knowledge available to them and be able to identify that, hey, this is something that's happening to me. I should probably do something about it. And I wish we had done more, and one of our goals was actually to create a helpline for our campus so students could anonymously contact a teacher and tell them that, hey, this is something that's happening to me. But we didn't get that far. So, yeah.
Do you guys think that just talking about the issue is the most important thing to make spaces for victims? What about the other side, which is punishment? So, in sexual harassment, have you noticed that there is no punishment? And even in open Western societies, the issue persists because you can get away with it. So even if the whole world knew about it and everybody knew about it, unless there is any punishment, do you think this will stop? Do you think people will stop voluntarily just because they know about it?
That's a great question. So I've actually talked to people about this, but it doesn't matter what the punishment is as long as it's, you know, that it's going to happen, because as you said, lots of people get away with this, which is absolutely terrible because it's seen as something that's not that big of a deal, even though it can have like extremely disheartening and terrible impacts on a victim. I feel like with the punishment, we couldn't have done anything, but we can talk about how like, you know, people shouldn't be allowed to get away with it. I mean, there's lots of punishments, and I don't think I can speak about that, but we have to just, like most countries, even like in open Western society, there has to be like a punishment that's set in stone. And I mean, we can look at Native culture, Native Americans who used to kill any rape people who used to, like rapists, and that used to happen like as soon as the woman came out with the story, which and that's why sexual harassment and all of that was pretty sexual assault was pretty low in Native communities. And I feel like that came from everyone knowing that, hey, if this is something I do, there's definitely a punishment. Like, we don't doubt someone when they're like, hey, this person like slip my tires, you know. But with sexual harassment, there's so much victim blaming and all of this going around, which is terrible. And to be a victim while everyone is telling you that, hey, are you sure this happened to you? Like, obviously that guy slipped my tires, I was there. But it's this doubt which really disheartens and affects the victim. And yeah, so
more questions are coming in. I'll take them one at a time. So Ms. Sara Janani is asking that while you were making these conversations with your immediate community and carrying out the project, were there any particular examples of pushback that you experienced in addressing a traditionally taboo topic? And did you feel like you had to justify the significance of raising awareness to any skeptics or critics?
sorry, you cut out a little bit. Can you please repeat that?
I'll say it out slowly. The first question is that when you were engaging with your communities while carrying out this project, were there any particular examples of pushback that you had experienced in addressing this traditionally taboo topic? And did you feel that you had to justify the significance of raising awareness to any skeptics or critics, that you had to bring about justification why you're doing this?
Because we didn't reach that big of an audience, I mean, we only did 2 talks. We didn't receive any pushback as far as I can recall, but that's a really good question. And I do remember this one moment where it wasn't pushback from our audience, but actually from while we were making the project, where some of the wording that we were using had to be changed to make it more palatable. And we couldn't be as clear about it because I feel like that's definitely something that's important, because you have to be careful in this topic. It's such like a huge topic, and it affects a lot of people, and there's so many social taboos around it. So it's really hard to reach people. But no, as far as I can remember, we didn't receive any pushback.
There's another question that what went into designing the posters and the messaging was not to offend anyone or to talk about this rather controversial topic?
So with our posters, we decided to go with the color red, which was really, really not good. And after we kind of evaluated that decision and dug into it, we decided that it was a really triggering color because it just like caught your eye. And obviously we had to bring attention to the topic, but we didn't have to like scream it out and rather approach it in a more sensitive way. So as you may have noticed, our like color and theme throughout the project was periwinkle, and that was part of our decisions since it helped us understand, like create posters that were much more gentler and sensitive and easier to reach our audiences with. And yeah.
Did you guys research the need for therapy for victims and talk about it?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Did you research the need for any sort of therapy for victims, and did you talk about that in your sessions?
Sorry, I can't figure out what you're trying to say because you're I think it's my Wi-Fi. Could you please read that?
Danielle and Imana, hear me. I'll repeat the question that within the scope of the project, did you research the need for therapy of victims of sexual assault, and did you talk about it in your sessions? Ma'am and Danielle, could you take the question?
I can't hear you. Your voice is lagging.
Can I repeat the question? Yeah, I think I'll repeat the question. So one of the questions, which one did you, okay. Did you research the need for therapy for victims and talk about it?
Oh yeah, that was definitely something we did. Victims really, you can't recover from this on by yourself because there's so much doubt, obviously, with having people tell you that this didn't happen to you, and that makes you doubt yourself. And as well as the issue and your experience can be really triggering throughout your life. So we didn't get to the point where we got to discuss the importance of therapy, but we did, however, give resources to speak, like emergency helplines and all of that to victims, like at schools, because they were on our posters, as well as like leaflets and just general knowledge of the topic.
Okay, I have another question for you guys. Do you think it would be beneficial to add parents to your awareness program as well? Knowing what are the effects of sexual harassment may help them to understand their child's behavior, even if the child doesn't choose to talk about it.
That's a really, really good question, and I feel like we should have done that. Yeah, including parents in this is a really, really important thing because you may have noticed that your child is acting differently around some people or just generally being unlike themselves. And knowing that, hey, this might be because my child was sexually assaulted or harassed is one of the most important things you can do as a parent. And yes, including parents is definitely one of the most important things we should have done. Can do.
Yet another one. On campus, what do you think should be possible disciplinary actions against harassment?
On campus? Sorry. Oh yeah, definitely.
You can take that.
So on campus, I believe that we, like, for doing such a thing, there should be specific rules or so like if for instance, someone does do this, there would be like a specific consequence, and like in order to actually prove that it did, there should be like key witnesses proven or something like that. No. Like a specific consequence or a fine or something.
There's another one. Thank you, Mama. Do you think your English campaign would be understood in Urdu medium schools? Did you guys explore Urdu words to see how an Urdu audience would be engaged and how you would communicate with them?
We didn't really, like as the question said, explore or the world. We didn't really go that much into depth, but I feel like if we find a way to communicate better with Urdu medium schools, I think we can also get the message out to them and really find the solutions.
Would awareness of the consequences from a religious aspect be useful in addressing the issue?
Can I take this one?
Sure, Abdullah. Go ahead.
Okay,
and
so,
then Mama can also contribute if she wants to.
Yeah, so definitely using religion and having that as a way to deliver our message would be important because it's something people believe in, and it's definitely, you know, apparent throughout our culture, you know, in Pakistan, because yeah, all of that. And so using religion and, you know, bringing that into it, as well as, you know, the whole stuff like punishment, like, you know, would be really, really important and help us deliver our message in a much more meaningful and like effective, I think that's the key word here, manner.
Imama, you also want to take the question? The same one? Would awareness of the consequences from a religious aspect be useful in addressing the issue?
I think yes, because sometimes, say, if schools or really anywhere, or like a specific law is set up against performing such thing as sexual harassment, if we take things consequences from a religious point of view, I think it's a better way of approaching. Like, say, if one says that it's unfair, the law that's being applied, if we take it from a religious aspect, I think it might be better to.
Thank you, Mama. I think there's another one. Okay, one trap that schools fall into is specifying dress codes for younger girls, which only push victims blaming culture. Did you come across this in your research of schools and their campaigns to curb sexual harassment and possibly voicing concerns against that? Do you want me to repeat that? One trap that schools fall into is specifying dress codes for young girls, which only push victims blaming culture. Did you come across this in your research of schools and their campaign to curb sexual harassment and possibly voicing concerns against that?
Yeah, we definitely did. I mean, the whole putting the blame on the women who are the victims, and even, you know, boys sometimes, instead of the actual harassers, is definitely there in schools. And that trap of like making people cover up, which pushes this like whole you know, message of, hey, this triggered the harasser or, you know, the rapist to doing this. Well, it was actually like none of it was actually the victim's fault. It was, you know, the person who did it's fault. And I feel like this is definitely something that is apparent in our culture, and we didn't get to speak on this during our talks, but it was definitely something we came across.
Okay, I missed a question. I think that was from Mohammed Ahmed. Something that is quite prevalent, not only in workspaces, but educational institutions, is sexual coercion, quid pro quo harassment in university level educational institutions, professors giving unwanted sexual attention to female students while insinuating that their grades depend on, no, sorry, I skipped a line, or giving unwanted sexual attention to female students while their grades depend on how they respond.
So this is definitely a form of harassment, which is important because, and we feel that victims don't have the ability to even come forward about this because people would much rather, you know, believe the man over it because, you know, sexism and all of that. But in like our society, I feel like campuses should definitely bring in more, you know, rules and stuff about, you know, having background checks on professors and making sure that, hey, this man will not do this to any of the students, rather than making the students feel like it's their responsibility not to get harassed, because that's completely ridiculous. But on campuses, there should definitely be some type of helpline or stuff like that that can that should be school run, not because I've heard that some schools and campuses have student run helplines because the school has, you know, doesn't do anything about it. But yeah, thank you. That was a really good question.
I think that's about it. Thank you so much, Abdullah, Mama, and
Sorry,
Dania.
missed a question by Sir Hassan, I think. What next steps do you think are important in schools? Can I answer this one?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead, Dania.
Okay, so I really think that 2 steps are important for all schools to go forward with this topic. First of all, I think that every school should teach about sexual harassment and assault from an early age so that students know that this is a bad thing to do overall. And the second step, I think, is that every school should have a helpline in which students can complain about any harassment or assault they've faced, and that should lead to expulsion. That's it.
If anyone doesn't have any more questions,
I think there's one from the Facebook stream that I'm reading out. I think we'll take it as the last question. Did you also research the need for therapy for the harassment? Why people do such things?
So I think we already answered that one about the therapy, but
Would Mama and Dania say something, about it? Therapy for people who do such things. Daniel and Mama, would you want to add on something to what Abdullah has already discussed?
I feel like when we want to talk about, you know, should there be therapy? Of course, there should definitely be therapy. I mean, it's such a traumatizing thing to go through as a victim, and the person that we spoke to, the experience that I read out to you, they definitely, you know, they suffer with this every day. They have to be conscious around people, and it's overcoming this issue in the first place and trying to deal with all of the struggles and triggers you have to go through every single day, on top of everyone telling you, hey, this is not something that happened to you, you're just lying, or it's your fault. Yeah, I think you're gonna need therapy after this, because it's just so much to go through in such little time, and not even a little time. You have to go through it your entire life and carry that experience with you, which I feel like the harassers and the people who are actually doing it don't understand, because they don't have basic human empathy and stuff like that. Thank you.
That was our last question. Thank you so much, Abdullah, Mama, and Daniel. That was a lovely presentation. Thank you all the audience who joined us today and who gave us feedback and who commented and questioned these kids. It made a lot of difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for joining us this Saturday afternoon. This concludes a very informative and inspiring webinar on MYP Community Projects. I would once again like to congratulate all the MYP Pro students on their participation and untiring efforts towards the completion of their projects. Your conviction that you have exhibited towards your causes will definitely prove to be a positive catalyst. Thank you for making your communities better, one step at a time. Some of you have committed your goals to be ongoing. Good luck with that. Last but not least, thank you to the audience who has not only been present, some of you have been here since the very start, but also engaged with all the presentations. Your questions, feedback has most certainly enhanced the impact of these projects and encouraged our students to continue on. Thank you for your time. Inshallah, see you again with our next set of project exhibitions. So then, take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a lovely week ahead and Eid Mubarak in advance.